The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Hello and welcome to The Art Beat on 105.7 FM KLZK. I'm your host, Peter Martins, and I am very thrilled to be here today with a guest we haven't talked to before, Kyla Olson, who is a professor and actually the head of dance in the School of Theater and Dance at Texas Tech University. So, hello, Kyla.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Good. Great to see you. We're able to stretch our legs a little bit on the Art Beat in the summer here and not necessarily talk about a specific event that's coming up, but we are going to be happy to talk today about all things dance at Texas Tech.
I love it. It's the thing I'm best at, I hope.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You're head of dance. Paint us kind of broad strokes. What are students doing in dance at Texas Tech? At what levels?
So the dance program at Texas Tech has two different majors that students can take, a BA or a BFA in dance. They take a wide variety of dance technique classes in ballet, jazz, contemporary, and hip-hop with our faculty, both full-time and part-time faculty. They take courses like first-year seminar where they learn how to be a dance student in the program and what dance sort of looks like in higher education, sort of a preview of what's to come in the degree plan. They take choreography classes and improvisation and principles of choreography 1 and 2, which teach them how to sort of build movement and create for the stage. They take dance history, dance pedagogy, how to teach dance. They take a writing about dance course. They take a lot of different things in the dance curriculum that sort of train them in a wide spectrum, not just movement-wise, but being able to fully articulate and talk about and discuss why dance is important, what the historical context is, how it relates to what's happening in the world, because all of that informs the work that they do both in the studio and on stage. And we try to train them holistically. We give them dance conditioning classes, anatomy and somatics, so they understand physically what's happening in the body and that they can also then bring out the longevity in their career. Maybe they can dance a little bit longer without injuries or rehabilitate an injury that they might have. But also if they go into teaching, that then they're teaching better and they are more aware of physically what's happening in the body so that they can help their students become better dancers and athletes as well. So we try to train the dancer holistically and not just here are your dance classes and you're moving and it's all fun and games. So, a lot of people say, oh, how fun, you're a dance professor. And I love and hate that response because I'm like, there's so much more. And they're like, you do lecture classes? I'm like, yeah, we're just like everybody else. Like, it's not any different. Our lecture classes may look a little different or, our students then actually get to wiggle around in the studio and do stuff, which is great. But, they're training just as hard as the other students on campus. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the physical side is fascinating, too. I think that's a sensible increasing focus across the performing arts that at this stage of the game, young bodies seem indestructible, but we know that they're definitely not.
They can are quick to go or, it only takes one time for something to happen. So we're always trying to give them that opportunity to understand and learn kinesthetically what's going on to help them train and cross-train outside of the studio so that they can have longevity in their career and also that they're just, maybe they age a little bit better. Maybe their bodies aren't aching and, all those things. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think of some of our majors coming into Texas Tech in the arts areas, and in some cases I would say maybe they come in and they do the sorts of things in college that they were doing before college, just at a higher level. Do you find that that's true with dance, or what sort of experiences do the freshmen coming in have, and how do you, maybe bring them all together into a uniform cohort as far as moving through our program?
I think we usually see either two options, either that they're dancing actually less because they're taking 1 to 2 technique classes plus all these lecture-based courses, and so they feel like they are actually dancing less than they were if they were dancing at a studio for hours every day and rehearsing for competition. So it might feel a little bit different. For a lot of our students, they have only done technical training, so sitting in a classroom or learning about dance in a different sort of way, writing about it, talking about it, listening, watching, those sort of things are a different sort of utilization of dance. And so I think that is always the challenge of like, oh, we didn't know you could actually do more with dance. And so some of the courses that we have them take, they have sort of a set cohort of classes that they take. So that first year seminar class I was talking about, that's sort of an introductory class that all of our incoming majors and minors take in dance. It gets them sort of connected with the new people in the program, so it's a little less scary. So I feel like that's a good bonding experience that they start to, learn who each other is, make friends from that, and then, hopefully carry those friendships and relationships through the 4 years. It's also the rehearsals for the Fall Dance Festival, which is our student-based concert in the fall. It's all student choreographers and their senior capstone working on stuff. And so spending many hours a week, late nights in the studio, I think is also a good bonding experience. And that has students across all 4 years in it. So they get to work with the older students, get a sense of what's going on, and build those relationships. And I know that really helps the students sort of bond together a little bit more so they feel like a family. They spend a lot of time together in the studios, and I think that actually helps sort of build that cohesiveness between the students.
Neat.
So.
Yeah, that sounds similar to, I was working with an architecture student this last year in a different course, and I was surprised to learn from her that it's very much that studio, you're falling asleep next to each other at a desk in this space and over a bowl of cold ramen or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's a uniqueness to some disciplines, the performing arts included, visual arts included, that doesn't exist. Maybe, I don't want to disparage math, but maybe math
not.
majors don't, sit around in a studio late at night and
maybe they do. Maybe
bond.
They solve equations or play with calculators. I have no idea.
It's true. It could happen.
They're probably way cooler than us, I'm sure, and smarter.
So you mentioned the Fall Dance Festival as a student-driven performance. That's an annual thing. And the senior projects, if these are the current seniors, boy, they kind of have to come out of the gate in the fall semester and be ready with that. Are they working on that building up to that event, or do they kind of start the fall semester and have to do it in very compressed time?
In the sort of the choreography track of classes, they take an improvisation class, a music for dance class, so they learn about, the musical aspect of creating movement. And the principles 1 and 2 of choreography classes that they take, they build slowly on working, within themselves and then working with smaller groups to build up to some ensemble work. So it is sort of a stretch. What we try to do is that the summer going into that fall semester, we identify who the students are. We get the rehearsals booked out so they know in advance, when they're supposed to be rehearsing. And then we have them work over the summer to create sort of an artistic statement, a plan of what they're sort of thinking about as a choreographer, what sort of concepts are they interested in developing, or, if they've got strong ideas for music, we ask them to get copyright permission for all of the music that they use. That's a requirement of a conference that we take them to and typically show student work. So we talk to them.
Forever.
That can take a very long time, or, they reach out and then they never hear anything. And we've strongly encouraged them to try to work with student composers here on campus. Melissa Brading, who teaches our choreography 2 class, has been working with Peter Fisher, I think, in the School of Music, and working with a student composer. So actually this past year we had a student who worked with a student composer and then continued to work with that composer for her Fall Dance Festival piece. So she had original music, which is great. We love seeing. And for me, I'm like, the students are collaborating and learning together. And that's the thing that makes me geek out. So they have sort of all summer. They have to come in at the first day of the semester and say, here's what my plan is, and talk about it and what they're planning to do. They have a little bit of time to get the planning together, but we sort of hit the ground running. Once we do auditions in that first week, they cast, and then they start rehearsals the very next week. So it doesn't give them a lot of time. So we always ask them, really use the summer to be mindful and think about, what you want to create. They also get super precious, right? Because this is their senior capstone project. They put a lot of pressure on themselves, and we're like, this is one of many dances you will likely make in your career. So take risk, do things that you couldn't do that, when you leave here, you're going to have to go pay for a theater and a lighting designer, and you got to get dancers together and rehearsal space. So you have these things readily available to you. So take as much risk as possible so you can sort of see what you're capable of and not sort of box yourself into, well, this is the type of dance that I make. And so
I don't have to
when
sell
they
tickets.
do that, the stakes are super low. So we encourage them to really lean into that and really try to develop their artistic voices. So, and then at the end of the semester, they defend their work, defend the choices they made, talk about how their work connects to the larger realm of dance and what other professionals are doing and how it sort of is adding to the field. And I think that that's a great way of, again, articulating what you want as a choreographer and talking to your designers and translating that dance language to someone who knows nothing about dance. It's the same way of writing about your work when you're applying for grants. You need to be able to articulate and tell people what you're doing. And so within that context, they're really having to take on all those sort of leadership roles. And I think it's a really good training method for them. And the work has been spectacular. I think the last couple of years that we've done Fall Dance, it's just been the work just gets better and better each year. So our students are getting stronger. And I think that reflects the work that our faculty are doing with them. So, yeah.
Well, great. It certainly sounds intense.
Yes.
And you mentioned initially the holistic approach to training, obviously kind of career preparation, that side of things, being able to, solicit funding. That's a huge part of it, right? We don't put out a lot of artists of any type who can simply go and like, I'm going to paint and I'm going to pay the bills, or I'm going to, just dance and pay the bills. So that sounds great.
You got to give them those side hustles. And there's so many transferable skills as dance artists that we can do that translate to other things. But while we're here, we're trying to give them, why don't you go look at the light board and see how that works? Like, if you know how to work that, you don't have to pay somebody to do it. Or go work in the costume shop, figure out what that's like. Or go and make that money on the side while you're supporting your, artistic choices. So whatever we can give them while we're here, we are trying to do, because it's hard once you get out there and the world is not super supportive of the arts. You've got to be really sort of motivated and a go-getter. And so we try to give them all those skill sets before they leave here, and hopefully it's working.
Great.
Yeah.
So what other typical performances and venues and such throughout the year do the dance students participate in?
So our other major concert of the year is our spring concert, which is Dance Tech, which is a faculty concert. Any guest artist work that we bring in falls into that category, and that typically happens in the spring. That's our big major production. And we're currently working on preparing for next year's sort of devised dance theater piece called Rites of Spring. We're working with student composers who are recomposing Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, reimagining it, and the faculty are going to start to develop these ideas in Marfa over the summer with Christopher Staley and Anthony DeNaro, or why not, our hip-hop artist who's on faculty. And they're going to start to develop what that looks like, and then we're going to expand that into the fall and work on that. So super excited about that. But that's one of the opportunities we get. Within the classes, they always have performance opportunities. So the choreography classes are typically performing somewhere on campus or on the First Friday Art Trail. And then, whatever sort of projects they want to do on the side. A lot of them perform with Ballet Lubbock. A lot of them work with some of the other student orgs who perform on campus. So they can be as busy as they want to be. And some of them choose to be very busy. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to clarify, you mentioned Dance Tech in the spring as a faculty production. That refers to the faculty writing the pieces, choreographing, but it's student performers.
So it's student
largely,
performers,
yes.
but more faculty choreography, and the guest artists that we typically bring 1 to 2 guest artists in. We know we're isolated. We want our students to get to work with professionals in the field, get that networking experience, work with other artists that don't have the same sort of styles that our faculty have, and that typically adds into that production. So we won't be doing that this year because it'll be a collaborative work that we're all making together, but that's been a huge part. And the artists come in, they teach, they lecture, those sort of things. So they're getting those opportunities. We just brought in a Latin artist who did ballroom sort of style Latin movement last year. We brought in Jason Samuel Smith, who is a very famous tap dancer, and brought him in. So we try to, again, what are the holes in our faculty and their training and their style of choreography? Let's fill that with these guest artists. So trying to give the students, again, all those performance opportunities, things that they, can't really get out here in Lubbock.
Right. Now, we focused on the dance students and those specific performances. I'm guessing that there's a certain amount of your activity as a faculty member that involves teaching and coaching dance with people who are not at the university specifically for dance, maybe actors or people who are here to study voice, but they're in a production and they have to learn to tap dance. I'll say that my son has to learn to tap dance this summer, and
I love it.
He's a musical kid and everything, but he certainly doesn't know how to tap dance. So what sort of things do you have to do in that realm?
I work actually a lot with those students. I choreograph a lot of the musicals for our school, and it is a challenge. You try to meet those students where they're at. You try to build up their confidence, and then you give them movement that makes them look good and makes them feel confident. We also have introductory technique classes that those students can take so they can actually get a better sense of what that movement feels like, so it feels a little less scary. But we typically work with non-movers all the time, and actually they're my favorite because they're just so excited. And when they end up being able to do anything, they're just excited to be there. And I'm like, yes, hold on to this joy when you get better. And, maybe this won't feel as exciting, but it's always my favorite part is seeing people sort of get that confidence and sort of light in their eyes when you see them on stage and, taking on those performance roles. So.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, goodness, our time has flown by today. I want to thank Kyla Olson for joining me in the studio and giving us such a rich picture of the dance areas and the dance activities at Texas Tech. And we look forward to talking to you probably again this coming year about the specific productions as they roll around on the calendar.
Love it. Happy to come back anytime.
All right, great. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University.